I don't know about you, but I love buttons. Buttons and button-like objects used as ornaments or seals rather than fasteners have actually been discovered dating as far back as 2800 BC. Functional buttons with buttonholes for fastening or closing clothes appeared first in Germany back in the 13th century. And did you know there is actually a button day? It's November 16th every year. Mark it on your calendar. When I was a kid, my mom kept a button box, like lots of moms did, in the sewing machine stool. It was formerly a box that had had cookies in it, but was repurposed for keeping buttons, in case one needed to be replaced on a shirt or pants or a coat. There were all kinds, colors, and sizes of buttons, although it seemed that a perfect match could never be found when you needed a replacement button. Close, but not exact. Buttons are so important that when you buy a shirt or a blouse or a sweater with buttons, an extra one is usually included in case you lose one. Although nowadays, probably most younger people wouldn't even know how to sew a button on. It seems like buttons on clothing are less and less common, especially since there are snaps and zippers and, of course, Velcro, and they're so much easier. There's actually a phobia called componophobia, and it's surprisingly common. It's an irrational and persistent fear of buttons, and nearly 1 in 75,000 people are known to experience this phobia. Who knew? Steve Jobs, the Apple co-founder, in 2007 revealed his own button phobia to the Wall Street Journal. And his phobia extended far beyond clothing buttons, ironically setting the stage for what was probably Apple's most remarkable success. The revolutionary iPhone took the world by storm when it was released in 2007, and single-handedly it changed the concept of a cell phone from a device that resembled a traditional telephone to a smooth rectangular block that consisted primarily of a touch screen. If Steve Jobs had not been afraid of buttons, would cell phones and tablets exist today? Now, bear with me while I share some of my ramblings about buttons. When I was growing up, we had a dog named Buttons. Although when we went to live with my grandpa in Michigan, his name was changed to Charlie. We spent hours playing the simple childhood game of button, button, who's got the button? And the only equipment you needed to play was a button. When you want to get someone's attention or a reaction, all you have to do is push their buttons. Every human being, except Adam and Eve, has at least one button, their belly button. So many times we wish that there were a reset button to have a do-over. Think of how many things or babies you've seen that are cute as a button. Were you ever told to button your lip? When someone's acting strange, we wonder if they've got all their buttons. The first car I ever had was a little pink Rambler station wagon, and it actually had push buttons for shifting gears. Buttons open and close and decorate, and sometimes there isn't even a buttonhole. We've all had a favorite stuffed animal that had buttons for eyes. Obviously, there are lots of things to be said about buttons, and you're maybe wondering why I'm talking about them. Well, I really do have a reason. I was thinking about how prayer is like a button. Huh? Well, buttons are what keep two things together. If a button is missing, things are more difficult because we have to try to hide that fact. Or we have problems, especially like if you've popped the button on your pants. You might lose them. But prayer is what holds us together with our loving God. Without it, life is so much harder. We might try to act like we can get along just fine on our own, but in the end, we know we have to mend our relationship with God. Buttons can be decorative, enhancing the looks of whatever they're attached to. A deeper prayer life definitely enhances our relationship with God. And just as there are an uncountable variety of buttons, there are just as many ways we can pray. There are prayers of praise, thanksgiving, petition, forgiveness. And there are prayers we learned by heart when we were little. Many people have devotion to the rosary and to novenas. Priests, deacons, and religious pray the divine office every day, and there's no greater prayer than the Holy Mass. I think the prayer God likes the most is the prayer that we pray from the bottom of our heart, from our inmost place of love. We don't even need words or books or anything else, just to be in God's loving presence and to love God and to let ourselves be loved. Nothing more and nothing less.